I'm Kaylin Francisco, the Outreach Coordinator.
I'm Jay Chism. I'm the director here at the Southwest Research Extension and Education Center. Yeah, the Southwest REEC.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've got some pretty good, exciting new research topics coming up here. Jay, can you tell me a little bit about the sheep project?
Yeah. We've got a couple of friends here. You notice they're obviously not sheep. But they're part of our sheep flock though. This is Peter, and this is Belle back over here, Bella. Both of these they take care of our predator control as far as for our new flock. We actually got this flock behind us. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we purchased 50 ewes last year to actually start our sheep flock here. And the idea first was just to have them, just to get the sheep on the property. And then we didn't really have a research project. We were really looking at it to maybe just maximize the square footage of our pasture and utilize our forages a little more, help us with cash flow on the farm. But ever since then, we've had a lot of interest, in the sheep. One of the Dr. Jordan Thomas's grad students is interested. Jenna is actually interested in doing some reproductive work on our sheep now. So we've got a synchronization protocol that's been developed with our sheep. And we actually are going to be preg checking those sheep just in a couple weeks. So we're excited to see kind of, how successful we've been with that. And we're looking forward to have more sheep. Again, we lamb in May, so that'll be coming up pretty quick.
So Jay, where does Bella and Peter come in on this?
Yeah, well, obviously they're very critical really to the success of the sheep. You really can't have a flock of sheep in Southwest Missouri and maybe in other places too. They've been working hard too, so that's why they had to take a break. We really can't have a flock of sheep without some type of protection. There's other things you can use. Some people use donkeys. I've heard of people using llamas, but most people will tell you with the dogs, there's probably more reliable success. Not every dog's a good predator control, just like every donkey's not good at predator control. But for the most part, we know we have coyotes actually run through this farm all the time, and they do protect us from that. I mean, they killed a coyote, that was actually trying to get the sheep just the other night. So they actually will. They're very protective, but they're also good with students and things like that. So they're a good addition to the team. That's Peter and Bella. Yeah.
So how important are sheep in this area for the Southwest Center?
It's the sheep. I really wanted to add them to the farm here because I like the idea of sheep, and a lot of people are starting to raise more sheep in the area, and it really fits Southwest Missouri because we're a very forage-based agriculture. And so that's one thing we can really grow well is different types of forages. And our cattle obviously is the king in this area, but there's so many people who don't have the acreage or just don't have the right area for cattle. And so sheep is a great way to for people to get started in agriculture, maybe with a little less investment. So that's exciting. I'm glad to be able to work with people like that. Some people, just because of perhaps their background or maybe they moved here from another country, sheep and goats are something that they're more familiar with. And so it's nice to have those types of projects for those people who move into the area too. But mostly I like the idea of beef producers maximizing their investment in their land and using sheep to kind of work with their cattle production. We do it here, like we fall calve, and then we lamb in May, because we only lamb once a year. We'll probably do a project in the future where we'll lamb twice a year, but we'll wait till some of the researchers decide to do some of that. But the idea, of course, is that helps spread out our workload and helps spread out our cash flow, just like it would for a farmer. So those kind of things are really why, doing them out here, and when I tell everybody, I had never handled a sheep in my life until I was giving them shots and kicking them off the trailer when we first bought these 50 ewes. And so everything we know about them, we've learned just since they've been here. So we do have, I should mention also David Brown with University of Missouri Extension, who is our small ruminant specialist with University of Missouri. And he's also been very helpful, as well as Jennifer Lutz, who's an ag business specialist down in the very far county, McDonald County, and she's also been a very big help to us in this whole project. So we rely on our specialists for sure as we try to figure out different things.
Nice. So would you say sheep are an up and coming here in this area?
I think so. I think, I've had lots of people. Just last night, I had somebody tell me that they thought they made more money off their sheep than they did their cattle, because I think, the input costs are less. So anytime you make a little more money, I think it makes it an up and coming project.
Now, what kind of sheep do you have here? Do we have meat sheep or?
Yeah, or wool. Yeah, that's a great question. No, really, the idea is that we wanted sheep that didn't take a lot of work, just like most people did. So these are what we call hair sheep, or they're used for meat. So sometimes they're referred to meat sheep or hair sheep, either one. But and we purchased these. They were basically a mixed breed that we purchased from somebody that basically raises them kind of in a closed system, where they were selected because of parasite control. They were very resistant to parasites, which is a real problem for small ruminants. But how we manage them also helps us determine, really how we control parasites. So things like, especially during the growing season, they're never on a field for more than a week before we move them. So they're rotated very often, and they don't go back to that for at least 30 days, that field. So, and each field, we have to make some adjustments with the fencing around some of the braces and the gates, mostly to keep the dogs in, not so much the sheep. But so there are always things you have to do differently than if you just had cattle. But for the most part, they've been very little trouble. They're pretty easy to move. We sold a few of our wethers this year. That's, the males that we'd castrated and took to market. So, they kind of at least paid for some of that initial investment, or that, it's already started. And then next year we'll continue to grow the flock. I'd really like to have the flock up to about 400, 200 on this side of the road. And then at the property here, if you haven't ever been here, on the other side of the highway, I'd like to have another 200 over there, which means I've got to have 2 more dogs too to do that. So there's always something else to go with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So with you already doing all these repairs and updating the fences, could you see yourself in the future having wool sheep here too?
Well, maybe. I haven't thought about it, because if I have wool sheep, I've got to harvest the wool from them, and so that's a whole nother project. So right now, I get a lot of questions. When are we going to do goats, or when are we going to do something else? Right now, I'm happy with learning what we have, here. Now, if a researcher comes and wants to do some work on it, hey, we're always game to do some projects or do some research that really benefit to people in Southwest Missouri. That's what we're about.